Love is alive in the space between us. Feel that love right now. God speaks out in the words between us. Hear those words right now. I am holy. You are holy. There is beauty between us. Spirit shines in the light between us. See that light right now. Peace is born in the good between us. Be that peace right now. I am holy. You are holy. There is beauty between us. Between us. Faith is the bond that we share between us. Hold that faith right now. Truth is the life in the breath between us. Live that truth right now. We are holy. We are holy. We are holy. We are between us. Love is alive in the space between us. Love is alive between us.
Living. We'll open the service today with Love Is My Decision by Daniel Mamad. Please feel free to stand and sing along with us. Love is my decision. It's up to me to give of my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start.
Good morning. My name is Paulette Mason. I am a licensed Unity teacher presently serving here at Unity of Melbourne, and it is my pleasure to be the ringleader today. So let's start with prayer, because I feel the need to get centered, and perhaps it's the same with you here and out there. So please join me. Take a few deep breaths. Become mindful of our heart and our heart space. Prayer is a time where we center ourselves. We set intentions for what we would like to see, what we would like to be. And I would ask that you silently affirm with me that there is only one power and one presence in the universe and in my life and affairs. God the good, omnipotent, divine love. And so it is. Amen. Okay, so I have a couple of announcements here, and I believe that Joseph is going to put them on the screen about Tuesday and Thursday noon prayer. It has been changed to Wednesday evening connection and prayer. So each Wednesday at 7 p.m. on Zoom, we will connect with our spiritual community in prayer. And I think that's pretty exciting that we're doing it at 7, because so many people were not able to join in when it was at noon. So it's not noon, it's 7 p.m. prayer now. And you know, we are always open and willing to change, because we affirm that that is going to be for the good at all times. And I do want to remind you about the town hall that we're having September 19th, immediately following the Sunday worship service. And that is going to be hosted by the Board of Trustees. And I don't know whether you're aware of it, but I'm sure most people are, that Unity was founded on the power of affirmative prayer. And we continue that here in Unity of Melbourne by having prayer chaplains that are always present to serve you here today. And I see that we have Anne Dubois. Am I not seeing another? Well, Anne, you are powerful, so you can handle whatever. So if anyone here present has a prayer need, Anne is available to pray with you. And you know, sometimes those prayers are just celebrations. We just want to just be so thankful for what we have at the time. If you have a prayer request and you are watching us virtually, or if you're at home sometime and you decide that you have a prayer request, you can go on our website and click the little prayer box. I believe it's up in the right-hand top side, unless that's changed. But you'll find it, because you're all very tech savvy. So you can enter your prayer need or your prayer desire at that space, and that's sent to our prayer chaplains, and they will pray for that prayer desire for 30 days, and then it is sent to Silent Unity, and they put it on their prayer list for 30 days. So we shouldn't have any doubt that that is actually going to be a powerful way to handle any need that you might have. We also have a prayer box in the back of the sanctuary, and there's papers to fill out if you want to fill out a prayer request. Same goes for those prayer requests that we get in our prayer box. If you have an immediate need, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you can call Silent Unity at 816-969-2000. Someone will be there to answer your call and pray with you right then and there. So we're also, Unity Worldwide has a World Day of Prayer, and that's coming up Wednesday and Thursday, September 8th and 9th. And we will, they have a way that you can light a virtual candle. You can put in a prayer request. The daily word service will be on Thursday at 9 a.m. and sound healing will be Thursday at 8 p.m. So you would just, I believe you would just go on to Worldwide Ministries. Or do we have the click-on thing? It'll be spread on the stream where they're going to click in. Like peanut butter, he says. I hope you understand that because... Okay. So moving right along, we have some youth in the back on the other side of the building. And I was supposed to get a little blurb about what they're studying right now, but I don't know what that is. So you know what? It's going to be good because Miss Cheryl is really, really a wonderful youth director. So we know that they're learning about the spirituality that Unity promotes. So if you would join me now in blessing the children. Rub your hands together. I have a microphone in my hand, so I can't do it. Rub your hands together. And we're going to send energy back there to them. Children, we love you. We bless you. We appreciate you. And we behold the Christ you are. So now we're going to have a song.
Between your heart
think it's time? Don't you think it's time?
Yes, I think it's time. And I begin that with working on myself. Because every day there's not a time that goes by that I don't have to question where I'm coming from and whether it's coming from love or whether it's coming from my ego. So just so you know, because you're a licensed unity teacher doesn't mean you're perfect. Boy, oh boy. So now it is my great pleasure to introduce our speaker for today, Ron Fox. Reverend Ron is an ordained minister with the Centers for Spiritual Living. He's a gifted speaker and published author, and his inspirational style, coupled with a keen sense of humor, well, we're going to expect that, Ron, make him a favorite with audiences everywhere he has spoken. In 2018, the Centers for Spiritual Living honored him by designating him a Doctor of Divinity. And in 2019, he was awarded the Meritorious Minister Award for his outstanding service. He resides in Port St. John, Florida, with his wife, Becky, who is an artist and graphic designer, as well as a practitioner emeritus. And Becky will be doing the meditation immediately following the talk. So let's put our hands together and welcome Reverend Ron.
Oh, thank you so much. An actual live audience. You're not all on Zoom, huh? Wow, wow. So I am really, really excited and honored to be here today. And I heard Paulette say that Unity licensed teachers aren't perfect. I want to let you know that ordained ministers for the Centers of Spiritual Living are. I just thought I'd start out letting you know who's speaking for you today. So, you know, and she also said I had a keen sense of humor, so I have to tell you that I was speaking to a practitioner from one of our churches where actually my mentor minister 25 years ago resides, and he is really funny. And she told me when she introduces him, one of the rules is she's not allowed to say he's got a keen sense of humor because it puts too much pressure on him. Anyway, so this morning, I want to speak about a labor of love. And I thought I'd begin kind of how I came up with the idea to speak on this. When I thought about it later, it was different than I normally come up with a talk title. So I thought I'd share it with you. So when Randy asked me if I'd like to do this, I was really, really thrilled to do it. And when I went to my phone to put it on the calendar, I realized that today is the day before Labor Day. And Labor Day is a day that we honor people's labor that made our country what it is today. And I for some reason, kept thinking labor, labor, labor. And then a Bible verse came into my head. And here's the verse. It's from Matthew. And there are several different versions of this, but this is my version. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. And I started to think, well, what does that mean? What does that really mean? And I thought to myself, to me, it means when life hurts, when somebody's sad, when somebody is lonely, come to me and I will give you peace. And then I thought, come to who? Come to who? And it came to me that the real practical application of this Bible verse is how we're all here for each other. How you and I are the ears, the eyes, and the heart of the Christ. And it's when we make that emotional connection between ourselves and somebody else that the boundaries that seem to separate us are penetrated and we realize our divine oneness. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with Michael Gott, but Michael Gott is an outstanding New Thought singer, and he also happens to be a CSL-trained minister who serves as the senior minister of Unity of Houston. And Michael put something on Facebook a couple of weeks ago that speaks to what I want to speak about, so I want to share it with you. He wrote, "Sometimes prayer isn't asking God to move on our behalf, but asking God to show us how we can move on behalf of another." So I want to spend a big part of this morning giving you examples of what I'm talking about. And so Rachel Remen is a doctor who wrote several really wonderful books, My Grandfather's Blessings and Kitchen Table Wisdom. And in Kitchen Table Wisdom, she tells the story of a homeless woman who once a month goes to visit a doctor in a clinic. And it's a tough trip for this woman because she's got 2 carts filled with all her belongings, and it's up a hill, and she's got to manage to tie both of them together so they don't go down the hill. But she comes once a month. And the doctor, he would listen to her with such kindness and compassion and courtesy that it was a great experience for her. And he found out from his nurses that even when he wasn't there, and she knew he wouldn't be there, she came to his office. And the nurses would watch her, and she wouldn't go in, but what she would do is she'd stay by the threshold and put 1 foot in and take it out, and 1 foot in and take it out. And she would do it over and over again until some internal need she had was fulfilled. And then she would leave. And Rachel Remen wrote about this. She said, "The places in which we are seen and heard are holy places. They remind us of our value as human beings. They give us the strength to go on, and eventually they may even help us transform our pain into wisdom." That's what I mean about easing the burden. Listening is one of the gifts that we can give, to give somebody our attention, our full attention, without any judgment. I saw a survey that I read a couple of weeks ago where some social scientists asked people, when do you feel the most loved? And the single answer they got most was, when I'm really listened to. It says, you really matter to me. Piero Ferrucci is a psychologist from Italy. He lives in Italy, and he writes a lot about kindness. And in one of his books, he tells the story of an old lady in a nursing home who stopped eating. She feels lonely and forgotten. Her children are too busy to come to see her, so she doesn't feel like she matters. And Ferrucci said, she isn't sick. but she's waiting to die. And as luck would have it, one of his aunts volunteers at this nursing home. And so she would meet with this woman, go into a room and talk to her and just listen to how hurt she felt that nobody felt she was important enough to visit. And again, she wasn't eating. But one day, his aunt said to her, "How would you like some ice cream?" And she took it. She ate the ice cream, and her color came back. And Ferrucci, again, who's a psychologist, said, wasn't the ice cream that brought her color back. It was the care and attention, because we all need care and attention as much as we need the air that we breathe. He said it was just a simple act of kindness. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. And he goes on, and he said, you know, we live in a world that's full of violence and terrorism, and still people are kind. He said, you know, you won't see in the headline tomorrow's news, mother tells bedtime story to children, or father cooks breakfast for his family, or friend helps friend carry a suitcase. He said, we do it because it's the right thing to do. Ernest Holmes, who founded the Centers for Spiritual Living, wrote, "It is not necessary to spend your entire time in prayer and meditation. Rather, seek to make your work a prayer, your believing an act, your living an art." We can open our heart anytime and anywhere. You know, some of the things that we can do to lift that burden are so easy to do. A smile, help a neighbor, say hello to somebody, chat up the cashier in Publix, all different things we could do. I read, I hadn't even intended to mention this, but I read years ago, somebody was going through a line at Starbucks and they paid for the person behind them, and the next 26 people followed suit. You know, each and every one of us has the power to create joy and happiness by simple gestures of caring and compassion. Ram Dass and Paul Gorman wrote a book called How Can I Help? And for me, I've read a lot of Ram Dass books. That's my favorite. They have all kinds of stories about people serving other people. And they make, for me, 2 points that I think are so outstanding. One of them is we help through all we do, but at the deepest level, we help through all we are. Think about that. We help through all we do, but at the deepest level, we help through all we are. And the other point they make, and this is a quote, we work on ourselves then in order to help others, and we help others as a vehicle for working on ourselves. So, I want to tell you about my wife, Becky, who'll be coming up here and doing the meditation. So, Becky, actually a few days ago, it was 26 years that Becky graduated as a CSL practitioner. So I want to tell you a little bit about what it takes to be a CSL practitioner. You have to go through 2 years of preliminary classes, and then you go through 2 years of practitioner studies, and the 2 years are cut into 10-week intervals. At the end of each 10-week period, you have to take a test to be able to go on. At the end of the 2 years, and it's changed a little now, but when we did it, at the end of the 2 years, you had to take a 3-hour written exam, and if you passed the written exam, you had to do an oral panel with 2 licensed practitioners and a minister, and all 3 had to agree that you had the consciousness to become a practitioner. So the idea is it's pretty rigorous, it's pretty tough. And we went through it together. The whole time we were going through year 1, Becky would say to me, I don't know if I'm going to go through licensing. I might just take it and not take the test. And I would say to her, how could you possibly do that? To do all of this work and not do the licensing piece? And she would say, I don't know. I just don't know if I'm going to do it. And it was like so opposite of everything I wanted to do, because I knew I wanted to be a minister. So year 2 of the training, you begin to have practice sessions. And so one person plays the role of practitioner and the other client, where you do counseling with them. And our instructor said, when you play the part of the client, try if you can to bring in a real life situation, because it works better for both of you. It works better for the person being the practitioner, and as the client, you might get some help. So one night we go through the class, and somehow or other we didn't connect on the break. And when we got in the car, I could see Becky was kind of emotional. And I asked her, what's going on? And she started to cry. And she said, oh my God, Ron, I found my life's calling tonight. And I said, what is it? She said, I'm going to take the test. I am going to be a practitioner. That's what I'm meant to do. And I said, what happened in there tonight? And she said, no, I wasn't kidding about it. I said, what happened? And she said, I got to pray with Mary. That's not her real name. She said, and Mary told me something she's never told anybody else. She's going blind, Ron. In 6 months or a year, she won't have any sight. And I got to pray with her tonight. And I got to bring her comfort. And I realized as I was doing that, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to bring comfort and to pray with people. Maya Angelou wrote years ago, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden. One of my favorite spiritual writers is Kent Nurborn. And in one of his books, he said, you know, when we dream, we dream in these grand gestures, but we live our life in small moments. He said, you know, we need to find ways to celebrate and to concentrate the ordinary in our life. And he said, you know, we might not live a holy life, but our world is filled with holy moments, and we need to take the time to bring them into the light. And you know, when I read that again, I thought to myself, for me, spirituality is seeing God in every encounter and seeing God in every person that we meet. So I want to share a poem with you. It's titled "The Unbroken" by Rashani Rhea. And she wrote, "There is a brokenness out of which comes the unbroken, a shatteredness out of which blooms the unshatterable. There is a sorrow beyond all grief which leads to joy and a fragility, out of whose depths emerge strength. There is a hollow space, too vast for words, through which we pass with each loss, out of whose darkness we are sanctioned into being. There is a cry deeper than all sound, whose eternal edges cut the heart as we break open to the place inside, which is unbreakable and whole, while learning to sing." You know, when I thought, for us, we can help each other come to that place, and we can help each other learn to sing the song that she writes about. So I wanted to share something with you from my own learning about how small gestures can have such a huge impact. So when Becky and I were in Arizona, we moved here from Arizona, we had a woman that came to our church whose name was Danielle. And Danielle had been a school teacher for 40 years. And she was the sweetest, kindest, gentlest person. We loved her. And we had her in some classes. And Danielle was divorced, and she had 2 children. She had a son that their relationship had been shattered. And she had a daughter who lived in town, but her daughter was, and her husband were long-haul truck drivers, so they weren't around much. So Becky and I spent a lot of time with Danielle. And then Danielle got dementia. And she had to be in a nursing home. And the nursing home was on my way home from church. So I used to stop almost every day, not every day, but almost, to visit her. She had no idea who I was. And some days were very difficult because some dementia patients express a lot of anger. But I did it. And one day I pulled up to the nursing home and I parked my car and I sat behind the wheel before I went in and I said to myself, why are you doing this? What's the purpose in this? She doesn't know who you are. Are you doing this to prove to your congregation what a fabulous minister you are? Or are you doing it to prove to yourself, wow, I'm really a hotshot minister? And so I got out of the car and I went in. And I could still remember this. She was asleep. And I was so relieved that she was asleep because it was going to be an easy visit and it would be a quick visit. And I went to the head of her bed and I just looked down and I looked at her and I remember thinking how sad it was to see this sweet, wonderful woman who was so bright and alive lying in that bed the way she was. And I did a prayer and I turned to leave. And when I turned to leave, her hand shot out and she grabbed my wrist. And I remember thinking, wow, she's stronger than I thought she would have been. And she opened up her eyes and she looked at me and she said, please don't go. I don't know who you are, but it feels so good when you're here. So I stayed. I held her hand, and I stayed with her. And I went back to my car. And before I turned on the ignition, I thought to myself, you got your answer, didn't you? You know, Emerson said, no man can help another without helping himself. So I want to, I'm coming to the end, and I want to issue you a challenge. But before I issue the challenge, I want to give you one more example that kind of puts it into perspective. So years ago, I read a story about a woman who gets on an airplane, and she sits down alongside of a guy, and now she's writing this article, okay? And she said he's way overweight, and he's got a dirty t-shirt on that doesn't quite reach his belt, so his belly's sticking out. And he's sitting there eating Tootsie Rolls, throwing the wrappers on the ground. And she's thinking, oh my God, I'm alongside of him for this whole flight. And at some point, he turns to her and he starts to talk to her. And he said, you know, I could tell when you came on here, you didn't like me. And he starts to empty his heart to her about how tough his life is. And he says, I have a drinking problem. And I'm going to AA. And he said, I've done it before and it never lasted. And I'm so frightened that it's not going to last again. And then he talks to her about his connection to God. And he refers to his connection to God as having had God shots. And what he means by God shots is there have been times in his life when he felt connected to God. That was his God shot. But they didn't last. And he said, and right now, I can't find him. And this woman who dreaded sitting next to him, said to him, look at me. Look into my eyes. That's where God is. Between you and me. It's my soul and your soul together. And she said to him, isn't that a God shot right here and right now? Two strangers on a plane that God brought together. Come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Wherever you and I are, God is. So before I close, I have a challenge for you. And the challenge is, I don't bet, but if I did, I would bet that there isn't anybody in this room that doesn't know somebody right now that could use a God shot. Whatever it is, a face-to-face meeting, a call, a card, an email, some kind of acknowledgement that says, hey, I care. You're important to me. You matter. And I'm saying, if you've got that person, do it today. Take a moment to bring the presence of God into the life of somebody you know. So I want to close with one last quote from Kent Nurborn. He said, if we have played our part well, offering love where it was needed, strength and caring where it was lacking, if we have tended the earth and its creatures with a sense of humble stewardship, we will have done enough. We may pass quietly and rest gently in the knowledge that we have left the world a little warmer, a little kinder, a little richer in love. Though our moment was brief and our part small, somewhere in the fullness of time, our acts will bear fruit, and the earth will raise up a bit of goodness in our memory. It is a small legacy, perhaps, but a legacy nonetheless. Somewhere between a baby's cry and the distant brightness of a star, a mystery was alive in us for a moment, and it was our privilege to feel its presence and to have the chance to pass it on. God bless you. Thank you for being here this morning. Hey, Beth. No, it's not on.
So I'd like to, there you go. So I'd like to begin this morning's meditation with a quote from James Dillett Freeman from his book, Master Key. To shoulder a heavy load with a light heart is to meet things with God, to be deeply moved by the need of another human being, by noble action, by beauty or truth. This is to be aware of God. And so I invite each of you to turn within, to close your eyes if that feels comfortable, and just go into your heart center. And as we breathe into the breath of divine spirit, each breath awakens our awareness of our oneness in the divine and with one another. And so as each breath is taken in and released, feel this loving energy begin to expand out from your heart, surrounding your body in its light. See it growing and expanding to your neighbors sitting near you. See it glow. Feel the warmth until this room is filled with divine spirit's love. Now, in this place of love, remember a time in your life when someone lifted a heavy load from your heart. Remember how it felt. Perhaps some of these feelings include relief, a sense of peace, gratitude, compassion. So breathe into these feelings. Becoming more and more aware of your oneness in divine spirit and with each other. And in the silence, ask yourself how spirit can move you in a direction that could lift a heavy load from someone else's heart. And so Ernest Holmes wrote, to practice the presence of God is to awaken within us the Christ consciousness. And so I ask you that during this week, what qualities of God can you express to your fellow human being? And so it is.
Here is my breath. Here is my life. Here in this moment. Here is God. Here is my breath. Here is my life. Here in this moment. Here is
Thank you, Ron and Becky. That was really uplifting and gave us a direction to probably pursue this week. Now is the time to affirm our prosperity with our donations. And there are 4 ways to give. You can give in person. Y'all are here. You can give with a cell phone, and once again, I still haven't learned to do that. You can also go on our website. There's a donation button, and I believe that Joseph, do you post that little link too? Okay, Joseph's going to post that in the comment section. And of course, then the good old mail. You can always mail a check to Unity of Melbourne, and our address is right there on the bottom of the screen, so I'm not going to say it. You all can read it yourselves. Now, I'd like for you to imagine that however you're giving, if you would just hold that gift, imagine that gift being held close to your heart, and know that when we give, it's not just money. It's actually love. We're spreading love throughout the world. So please join me in the affirmation, divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, and all that I circulate. I am grateful. And during the prosperity song, which we're going to be blessed with by our musicians, I invite you to share your comments in the comment session if you're watching virtually, or we also have little slips of paper at the back. Please share, if you would, something that you're grateful for. And if you fill out a gratitude slip here, you could drop it in the offering basket, or possibly you might take it home, put it on your mirror and remind yourself how you felt today, and maybe you'd even be able to add a few things to it when you look at it. So please, if you would, and we've got the, we're going to show the motions on the screen, and I'm going to try to do them, and I'm going to put the microphone down. So.
Gratitude before me, gratitude behind me, gratitude to the left of me, gratitude to the right of me, gratitude above me, gratitude below me, gratitude within me, gratitude all around me. I'm so grateful. 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 I'm so grateful.
That felt good to get up and just kind of move around too, didn't it? Okay. I had some extra things here. It looks like, aha, I found it. Next week, we're going to be blessed by Reverend Therese Lee speaking to us. And she's also going to be doing a workshop, maybe. It's her. The title of her talk, or the title of the workshop, is Accepting Change, Acknowledging Loss, and Allowing Grief. So 2021 continues to produce change, often unwanted, sometimes mandatory, and definitely unfamiliar. During our after-service time, we'll learn to acknowledge the many losses, including COVID, that create grief. Grief for most of us up until now is associated only with death. But our time together, she says, will encourage accepting change with this expanded understanding that grief is the normal and natural emotional reaction to loss of any kind, as well as the conflicting feelings caused by the end or change in a familiar pattern of behavior. So we look forward to having that happen, and we're always glad to see her back here at her home. We do consider Unity of Melbourne Reverend Therese Lee's home. And now I would like to invite all of you, if you're watching virtually or if you're here in person, we are going to have Reverend Ron Fox be present for the Sunday Talk discussion. And that's a time when we can ask questions, we can reinforce the ideas presented, and also share any thoughts that we have about the message that we heard today. And Joseph will be posting the link for the Zoom for those of you who are virtually joining us. It's my pleasure to thank, first of all, Reverend Ron Fox for the message, Becky Fox for the meditation, everyone joining us here today, either present personally or virtually, our prayer chaplain, Miss Ann Dubois, our musicians who do a wonderful job, Stoney on piano, Ron on bass, Fred on the drums, Deborah, and Vashti. Thank you so much. We're so glad to have you here with us today. And of course, this all really wouldn't be hardly anything at all. It'd be like being in my grandma's church back in the country if we didn't have the sound and the visual going on. So a big thanks to Joseph and Chris. And also for Randy for overseeing it. He's back there shaking his head saying no, no, but we're going to thank him anyway. I did mention her, but let me mention her again. Becky, thank you for the meditation. I said Reverend Ron and Becky, his wife, earlier. But that's all right, because Vashti, you feel the need to recognize her, and I feel the need to recognize her also, because sometimes the minister's wife doesn't get nearly the recognition that she needs. So obviously you had that nudge in your heart. Okay. It's birthday Sunday. And somebody has a birthday. Ron, and anybody here have a birthday? Or out there? I bet somebody out there's got a birthday in September. So we're going to sing happy birthday to them. Oh, okay, let's do the blessing then. We love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ you are. Happy birthday. All right, so that I believe that's the end of my notes, so I think we're done. Thank you, Barbara. Yes. So please join me as we say the prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds me. I am light. The love of God enfolds me. I am love. The power of God protects me. I am power. The presence of God watches over me. I am the presence. Wherever I am, God is, for I know all is divine. Thank you so much.
Please stand and join us. Love, 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 everybody. Love, love, love. When it's hard to love, love. Our loving will change the world. Those are all the words.
Love, love, love everybody. Love, love, love when it's hard to Love is alive in the space between us. Feel that love right now. God speaks out in the words between us. Hear those words right now. I am holy. You are holy. There is beauty between us. Spirit shines in the light between us. See that light right now. Peace is born in the good between us. Be that peace right now. I am holy. You are holy. There is beauty between us. Between us. Faith is the bond that we share between us. Hold that faith right now. Truth is the life in the breath between us. Live that truth right now. We are holy. We are holy. We are holy. We between us. Love is alive in the space between us. Love is alive between